Movies usually come out on Fridays. Not God. He looked at Jesus and was like, how much it come out on Sunday? Little resurrection humor? Anyone?
So I went to church. And I don't know exactly how it happened, but I felt something. And so I went again tonight. And I know this is going to be weird to hear because it's weird to say, but I prayed.
So what are you telling me, Les?
I'm saying that I talked to Jesus. I told him I want him in my life.
What?
The Case for Christ follows the true story of author Lee Strobel, who went from atheist to Christian after trying to prove his wife's faith incorrect. It follows his story as told in his book. Is it something worth visiting on this Easter weekend? Well, here's 5 things you might want to know about The Case for Christ. Faith-based films don't have a great track record with me necessarily, but you know what? I kind of enjoyed this one, and there's several reasons for it. I think number one, and this is most important, it is so important for movies about faith or even other message movies to get this. There are no horns and halos in this movie. What I mean by that is the movie treats everybody as human. This character, Lee Strobel's character, wasn't a bad person before he was a Christian. He was a loving father, a loving husband, a cool guy, he was funny, and it treats non-Christians with respect, and it treats Christians as human beings. It doesn't put the halo on them and say they're perfect. They make mistakes as well. The character I saw this most in was in the atheist advisor of Lee Strobel, who to my understanding is an atheist through the entire movie. Such a nice guy, speaks to him clearly, scientifically, intellectually, doesn't portray him as stupid or stubborn. You have to do that. You know why? Because it's true. We're all just human beings on a search for truth and what we believe about the world around us, and this movie captures that well. The other reason the movie mostly works for me, and I think would be accessible to most people, is because it's a personal, true story. Personal beats propaganda every time. Trying to force a message versus just telling someone's story is a completely different experience. And this movie tells the true, authentic story of Lee Strobel and what he went through. This is a real person, and this is really what he experienced. It doesn't ask you to believe the same things he believes. It tells you this is what happened with him. And I think that's a slight difference that makes a big difference overall. Now, that's also helped along by the fact that these are actually decent performances, which is also not always the case with faith-based films. But I believed them. I thought they were authentic. Mike Vogel and Erica Christensen played Lee Strobel and his wife. And because I was able to believe them and their relationship, it allowed me to experience the story in a better way. They've done bits and pieces of stuff before, but neither of them have really come to the forefront. I remember Vogel from Under the Dome, I think was probably the big thing for him. But I think they do good work here, and it really impacts the movie in a positive way for me. But here's the problem. This movie isn't made that well. Let's start with this. It's really slow. This movie drags on. I felt like there were times in this movie where I was like, okay, I understand what the story is doing, and I'm interested in this man's journey, but why are you giving me another 5 minutes of him looking at his charts and the wall of pictures and those different things? There's a different way to do this that keeps me engaged and is tighter and is more efficient, and this movie just didn't have a handle on that. And I think the main reason for that is it's just not great movie making. It's paint by numbers. It needs a director. That's what it needs. It needs a vision. Somebody who could really craft it into something special. It's competent movie making, but it's not creative and interesting movie making. And that's the key. Give it to a director who will do something with it. I know this backfired with Noah. Aronofsky doing Noah was a failure on both sides, from Christians and non-Christians alike, even though I kind of enjoyed the movie. But don't let that keep you from taking chances. Do something with the movie's structure, with the camera angles, with the color palettes. find different ways to use the sound, or just be creative with the movie making. Give us an experience that emphasizes the themes and the messages in a way beyond just the words on screen and the story you're telling us. That takes it to the next level. That's what makes it a great movie instead of just a good movie. And overall, that's what The Case for Christ is. It's just a good movie. It's an interesting story, told competently with some pretty good performances, enough so that I would give it a B. Thanks for checking out this Your Movie Friend review. We'll get to the Best Ever Challenge here in a bit. Before we do, let's connect further. Feel free to hit me up on Twitter, Aaron Dicer, AARONDICER. You can also listen to the podcast, SiftPop, SiftPop. If you do the podcast thing, we'd love to have you along. It's a weekly pop culture podcast. We have a great time with that. Feel free to hang out on YouTube, subscribe, leave comments. We have a good time having conversation here as well. And thank you so much to those who have already supported the Your Movie Friend Patreon. Just launched it last week, and already I'm humbled by the amount of support. It's cheering me on. It says, you know what, keep doing this thing. So thank you for doing that. We'll have some of those perks coming your way very soon. If you're more interested in that, feel free to hit it up. It's patreon.com/yourmoviefriend. And thank you. Thank you for even going and looking at it. I really appreciate it. All right, on to the Best Ever Challenge, where you name the best movie ever in a particular category. Also try to identify my choice. Let's do the best researching movie ever. The best researching movie. So a movie where they're researching something, trying to figure something out. Now, that could be pretty broad, but I'm really interested in hearing some of the answers for this one. Mine would have to be a recent film where Sherlock basically invents the thing that creates the modern world. Take a guess at mine in the comments. First person to get it right does get a point. As always, here's 5 extra seconds to hit subscribe. Just click the logo right down in this corner, or my big old face when it pops up in that circle. My face.